book friends! Today's episode of Biblio Happy Hour is brought to you by Biblio Finder, a new online directory for independent bookstores. Biblio Finder allows users to find bookstores worldwide based on your current or planned location. Hi book friends, welcome to Biblio Happy Hour, a podcast about bookstores and everything bookish. I'm your host, Victoria Wood. In today's show, we'll be talking to Richard Devoe, and he is from Fairtrade Books, located in Red Wing, Minnesota. If you love the show and what we're doing over on Biblio Finder, and you want to help us support local independent bookstores, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/bibliofinder. Patreon allows listeners like you to support the show as well as our online directory for independent bookstores. You'll also get perks for joining, such as access to our full podcast episodes, behind-the-scenes content, an opportunity to send in questions, get discount codes, shoutouts, plus more. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. We'll also leave a link in the show details. Before we get started with today's episode, wherever you're listening, please don't forget to share, subscribe to our podcast, and leave us a rating and review. When you do this, you're helping us to reach a much larger audience, and it is one way you can help us to put independent bookstores at the forefront and make Biblio Finder plus the show a success. Alrighty everyone, let's talk with our guest. Richard, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you here. So before we get started, really quick, are you a coffee or a tea person?
Definitely coffee. Grind it myself, preferably dark roast, French roast. I have a percolator that's a throwback. It's probably made in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Super fast. It's the very same one that I remember my father perking his coffee when I was a kid.
Wow, that's really cool. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, thrilled to have it.
Awesome. Alrighty, so tell us about your bookstore. Tell us about Fairtrade Books, where you're located, and share a bit about your town of Red Wing.
Fairtrade Books, we've been operating now for a little over 5 years. We sell new and used books in a wonderful downtown location. Historic downtown Red Wing is really gorgeous. And the building that we're in, emblematic of historic Red Wing. It's got beautiful, tall, original tin ceiling, exposed brick walls, great hardwood floors, and it speaks of Red Wing, which is known in the region as being a historic river town. About half our business is from people coming on especially on the weekends, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is about 45 minutes away.
Okay.
Or up from Rochester, where the Mayo Clinic is located. A lot of people from all over the world come to the Mayo Clinic, and 70% of the time while they're there for a few weeks, they're not actually in any clinic facility, so they're bounding about, and often we find them coming up to Red Wing. We have a tradition that is very unusual. We gift everyone a book on their first visit. So when you walk in the door, we'll greet you and find out whether you've been in before, and if you haven't, we'll tell you about our tradition and ask you what you like to read, the full range of, your interests. And then we select a book for you that we think that you'll enjoy. And we really pride ourselves in hitting the mark. And we pick the gift book out from anywhere in the store. It could be on any shelf. We don't have a dedicated shelf just for gift books. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to engage people. And it's very popular. Everybody, after 5 years of being in business and about 31,000 gift books, we're known for it.
Gifting a book to a customer at their very first visit. I mean, that in itself is an attraction. It's a must-do when in Red Wing.
Well, it's great. It's not an easy proposition succeeding with an independent bookstore, as everyone knows.
Yep.
And so, the thing that I wanted to shoot for was emphasizing the experience, which we're very fortunate to have a beautiful space that's very attractive. I mean, it's like if you were to stage well, a great independent bookstore, what would it look like? It very much has that. But we also, so you have the experience of just physical environment.
Right.
But the gift book entree into the full experience, we have beautiful bookcases. We have an assortment, but they're all very nice. Many of them are handmade. It's not they're just very nice. The whole bookstore is attractive. We have good music on. We maintain a good vibe. And we also do a tremendous amount of programming. In addition to having authors almost every Saturday, we have often 2 or 3 activities. We do doc and talks, which are documentaries and discussions.
Okay.
We have speakers. We have open mics. So we really emphasize coming to the bookstore for an experience. We have good books at good prices. Right. Which you have to do.
Absolutely. So I'm getting a bit curious now. Like you mentioned before, the bookstore business isn't, the most lucrative business out there. There's a million other things people could choose to do. But I would love to know, and I'm sure listeners too, why did you decide to open a bookstore? And also, what was the reception from, the members in your community or your family at the idea of you opening your store, Fair Trade Books?
I had no idea that I was going to open. I'm a book lover. I have a lot of books, but I had no intention did not dream of opening a bookstore. I came to Minnesota for the first time on a short work stint. Mm-hmm. In September of 2013. Mm-hmm. And I did what I do when I had spare time, which was go to my nearest independent bookstore.
Right.
And I wound up befriending the owner. He needed some help, so I worked for him on the side, and he paid me in books.
Oh.
Because I love books. And so he got some cheap labor, and I got some books.
Right.
And he, over time, gave me the full history of how he'd come into the book business and how he told me some things I didn't know, which is, like, number one, there's more independent bookstores had opened than closed since 2009.
Yes.
The Twin Cities region is the 3rd best book market in the country behind Portland and Seattle.
Wow.
And yeah, he said, if I had the money, I'd open, there's a few towns around here. He was in Hastings, Minnesota, which is about 30 miles away from Red Wing.
Okay.
He said, I'd open a bookstore if I had the money. I'd open another one. And I said, really? So one of the things that I noticed when I was there, and he had told me, he says, when you have a storefront in your used bookstore, he said, people will bring you books. They'll just bring them to you. And I saw that happening when people, and they didn't necessarily, they got store credit, or they said, we just want a new home we'll move them, we just want a new home for our books. And it just slowly dawned on me. I said, hey, if I can, do something I love,
right,
and my customers are going to bring me my product, go back to them,
yes,
and at relatively no cost, I said, maybe I could make that work.
Hey guys, listen to the full podcast episode over on our Patreon page. So Patreon allows listeners like you to support the show as well as our online directory for independent bookstores. You'll also get additional perks for joining, such as discount codes for some awesome products and services. You'll be able to share your input and submit questions for the show, get behind the scenes content, weekly business updates, shout outs, plus lots more. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. I'm really looking forward to talking with you there.